listening to Wake Up Hollywood with Nikki Korula and Eddie Pence, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Wake up, Hollywood. This is your host with the most, Nikki Korula. We're going to jump right into this interview. We have a very talented food artist, Miss Journey Rain. How are you, Journey?
Hey, how's it going? I'm great. Thank you so much, and thanks for having me on the show.
Of course. You know, I first found your restaurant, Grits and Waffles, on Instagram. I think it must have been an ad or something, and I literally said out loud, oh my God, this food looks so amazing. And, you know, when I got to meet you at the restaurant and also got to taste your food, I was just so amazed by all of it. And it was packed. I mean, that place had a wait. You know, it was just like, all right, this is going to be good. And everybody left full and happy. So you're doing an amazing thing. Let's talk about, you grew up in Dallas, Texas. What was the moment of Zen that made you fall in love with food or fall in love with cooking?
You know what's so funny? I'm actually a singer-songwriter by trade. So that's why I moved to LA.
Wow, that's incredible. I didn't know that. I think you said you talked about that when we initially talked. I remember that.
Yes. I moved out here to do music. I wanted to write for TV and film. I started cooking when I was 7, right? Everybody in my family cooks. So I didn't even know that there were people who didn't know how to cook until I was in my late 20s. I thought everybody knew how to cook. So
right.
It's just always something that I loved. You know, my brother, he's 4 years older than I am. So after school, I would come home, cook something, make stuff up, give it to him. And, you know, he's like, Mikey, give it to Mikey. He'll eat anything. So I got a chance to like test out recipes and stuff on him. And I actually have an item on my menu, the crunchy cinnamon toast. It's one of the things I used to make for us after school while watching the Beetlejuice cartoon. It's crazy.
That's awesome. That's so amazing. So you would just like concoct recipes like on the fly, like whatever you had, you would just figure, give me some of those like early recipes. Because
I remember we had cream of wheat.
Right.
And so like, I was like, I think this would be really good with some peanut butter. And then we had like the Hershey's chocolate syrup that I drizzled on top.
That sounds amazing.
And he's like, but I was like, this is going to be disgusting. And he killed it. And then, so on my menu now, I have something called fried grits. And what I would do when I was a kid, when the grits would get cold the next morning, I make my bacon and I would just fry it in the bacon grease, like big bag behavior, right? So,
right.
So now I wanted to do an elevated version of that. And that's kind of what we have on the menu today. Our fried cheese.
Let's show a picture of that. Sam, I think it's the picture with the waffles. Let's show that the picture. Yeah. It's up in the top left corner, right?
Yeah, the top left corner is the fried cheese grits, and the on the right side of the waffle is the fried sweet grits.
Yes. Okay. So, you know,
and
what's
actually,
cool
that's the crunchy cinnamon toast below the waffle with the berries and the whipped cream.
Oh, that's one thing I didn't have when I was there. I mean, I could have ordered everything on your menu just because everything looks so good. What was really great about those, the fried grits, first of all, I'd never seen that on a menu before. I'd never seen, I love grits. You always see like shrimp and grits or things like that. Like, but I'd never seen fried grits. How did you even come up with how to even do that? Like, how did you figure out how to fry grits? That's not easy.
It was really difficult to reheat them stovetop to where they just made sense. And I was like, you know what? Just throw the whole little block on the bacon grease and let's go from there. So that's kind of where it came from.
Do you like freeze them or like put them in the fridge first, or they're just hot?
Yeah. So that's the process. So we take the grits and we put them on a pan and put them in the refrigerator overnight. And then the next day we cut them out, bread them, and deep fry them.
Wow. I mean, honestly, it's when I had that bite, I was like, wow. So like, you know, you make food that comes from the heart and soul and it goes directly to the heart and soul. You know what I mean? Did you ever have like kind of like a whim to do that as a kid? You said you started frying grits, but like, how did you elevate? What was the difference from the first recipe to what it is now?
Well, it's crazy because, like I said, I've been cooking since I was 7. I was a latchkey kid. I would come home from school. 30 minutes later, my brother be there, and then an hour later, my mom would be home, and then 30 minutes after her, my dad's home. So I just kind of had a lot of experience playing with recipes. But one
Right.
thing I noticed at a very early age is that food made people feel a certain way, especially being from the South. You know, we're always talking about Southern comfort, Southern hospitality. So
Yeah.
if it doesn't make you feel good after you eat it, then what are we even doing here, right? And now with the inflation and everything costing so much, it's like, well, should I just pay $30 for a chicken and waffles? I better feel like $1,000,000 when I walk out that door.
That's true. And you do, it's one of the things that I love too. It's like, you're an independent restaurant. It's like you started and you just were like, I want to do this. And I think I remember you telling me the story. You originally started in a much smaller location, and then
Yeah, I was in a ghost kitchen actually. So ghost kitchens were takeout and delivery only. They've been around for about 7 years, but they gained in popularity during the pandemic, right? Because
right,
nobody could go out to eat. So
right.
everybody's like Uber Eats, DoorDash. So it was takeout and delivery only. And I opened February of 2022. And
Wow.
so what I noticed, I was like, okay, cool. This is dope. I remember the first day, I'm standing there and I'm like, okay, is anybody going to order? Right.
Right, right.
Because this is brunch and brunch is for weekend. So I'm like, it's Tuesday. Is somebody going to place an order? And then when the orders started coming in, I'm like, okay, I'm on to something.
Wow.
Then I noticed people would come and they would be dressed up. And I was like, oh crap, they think they can sit down.
You're
If
like,
I
no, you can't do that.
Right, right. And my reviews were like 5 star, 5 star, 5 star. And then I started getting poor reviews because they couldn't dine in.
Right.
They're like, oh, 3 star, the food was good, but there was nowhere to sit. I had to eat in my car, or I didn't know. And so I said, okay, well, I gotta get, a dine in. And where you were now, where you came to visit, I had 3 tables. I was waiting the table. I'll take the order, cook the food, bring it out. Like it was
Wow.
insane, insane. And so today, even though like it's packed, but we're in a very small space, so I got about 11 tables. We're moving to a larger space that's about 3 times the size with the stage. So don't be
Wow.
surprised if I reach out to you to do like a Music Monday event.
I would love to. I would love to. I would be more than honored. And you can feed me in fried grits.
Yeah. I just had no idea that it would just snowball like this. One day I looked
Right.
up and Stevie Wonder was walking in, and I was like, okay, he's
Wow.
blind and he found us. Like,
He could smell it. He knew. He knew
right?
something. That's what's amazing is that growth. First of all, what I really love is when I see independent, creators kind of grow like that, and it's not easy. Like I love that you were talking about that struggle in the beginning, because that's important. That's an important part of the process. And I'm sure you were a little bit frustrated when you were making such great food and people were complaining about not nowhere to sit. It's like everybody has something to complain about. I know you know this, because that's what happens when you create something. It's going to have a reaction. Even if it's great, people are going to find something to
Right.
nitpick. How did you kind of
Well,
pivot in a way to kind of like elevate, like, I'm going to just not pay attention to that and just keep moving forward?
Well, the thing is, it's not that we don't pay attention to it, right? Every piece of feedback is information that makes us better.
Right.
So, regardless of whether it's bogus or not, like I had a lady, oh my gosh, she left me a 1 star review. She had all her friends leaving 1 star because she basically accused us of being racist.
What?
It was a
Really?
Latino woman. Yeah, which is crazy because her husband, he didn't speak English. And so she kept trying to translate for him, but I'm bilingual. So I was just talking to him in Spanish, like telling him what grits were. And it literally, like, we were busy. It was me, one other cook. There were people standing all around. Every table was sat. And it was taking 45 minutes to an hour to get food out, right? So she's like, oh, you guys are racist. It took so long. So I have to comb through the negative reviews and find, well, where was the problem? Because if she didn't have to wait an hour for her food, she never would have been as upset as she was. And all the
Right.
other stuff doesn't matter. So it's like, where is the piece where we can do better and grow from there, right? Because you can't grow with only positive reviews. You have to
Right.
have the negative reviews to know where you can make those improvements. So I definitely take
You're
every
very
review seriously.
you're very enlightened, because I would have been like, you know what, you're banned from this restaurant. There's no. I mean, it's just like,
Right. Well, I
people
mean, obviously she's never going to come back.
right. Well, you know what? She will when enough people tell her, like, you need to come back to this place because it's so good, and it is so good. But
Yeah.
I think people just find any reason to like pick something apart where and it's just not necessary. That's why I think I have so much respect for creators, because it is not easy. First of all, you're putting a piece of your soul on the menu. You know what I mean? Every dish is
Right.
a piece of your soul that you're like, this is what I think is going to make a great brunch restaurant experience, dining, pleasurable, joyous occasion for families and friends. And it's like, when people don't see that you're putting that effort into it, or they're just impatient, because I'm sure you
Yeah.
deal with angry people all day long that are just,
Right.
just bitter. They're going to complain about anything. But
And not just
then,
me, but also my team members have to deal with, the hangry. And my thing is like, listen, we were honest with you, we were transparent. We said, hey, it's an hour and a half wait, it's a 2 hour wait. I've even told people, like, if you want to go to Fixins down the street, or like if you want to go to Poppy and Rose, they have a similar menu. I don't wait for food, right? Like I don't like to wait longer than 15 or 20 minutes. So to even see that, I'm just like, hey, if you want to wait, great. We're going to do everything in our power to make your experience the best as possible. But if you don't want to wait, I understand, and we'll see you on a day when we're not this busy.
Well, you know what? It's a good thing that you're busy, though, because that means your food is good. And I got to ask you real quick, what did Stevie Wonder order? Do you remember? Did you get to serve him or meet him?
I feel like somebody else asked me that, and I was like, everybody had catfish. Like there was a catfish quesadilla, a catfish and waffles, catfish and grits. And then somebody was like, he doesn't eat catfish. And I was like, well, maybe he just ate the waffle. I don't know. But it was 5 people there with it. But every order was a catfish combo.
Let's show that catfish and grits picture. Sam, I think it's the one with the lemon on top of the fish. Yeah. Ooh, that is a symphony of just beauty. You look at that in my eyes, you were talking about this before we started the interview. You were saying, you tell people that people eat with their eyes first. And without a doubt, I'm ready to devour that. And, it's a picture perfect plate. It's like, honestly, like how much of a presentation goes into what you serve for you as the chef?
Well, presentation is everything, right? And like I always tell my team members, like people eat with their eyes. And granted, there may be some things that look awful and taste amazing. But if it just looks crazy, I'm not going to eat it, or I'm going to associate it with the value, right? And so like if I'm charging $25 for a catfish and grits, then I need it to look like $25, So a lot of people associate that appearance with value. And so even though I'm in a small space, my wallpaper's peeling off the wall, it's horrible parking, I need to really showcase that value in the food, because it's the only space I have to do it in. We don't have uniforms, like.
You know what's funny? It's like you say all those things. I didn't take note of any of those things, but I still remember what that catfish looked like on the grits. Like I remember we ordered that, and that was one of the things we raved about. It was just so good. And like I usually look for that kind of dish at any kind of soul food brunch breakfast spot. And I'm going to tell you honestly, yours is the best. There's no question about it. Yours is the best. It's got that taste of the South that you just can't always get in LA. And it's just elevated, and it looks beautiful. It looks like a 5-star restaurant. And you know what? It's just got, this sense of community. When you walk in, you see that it's like everybody in the neighborhood that's just coming to have a good meal. But that dish, I got to tell you, stood out to me. I'm going to tell you another dish that really stood out to me. I had to get a picture of this. Is your collard green dip. Sam, okay. So first of all, just the chips alone are amazing. But I mean, that collard green dip, honestly, you could bury me in that, and I'd be very, very happy. If I leave this world, you can bury me in that collard green dip, because it is seriously one of the best things and one of the best ways that I've seen anybody cook collard greens. Tell me how you came up with this, and tell me like what was the kind of like the moment of zen that made you kind of think that this could work?
So this particular dish had a lot of renditions, right? I always say that collard green dip is spinach dip's older, cooler brother, right? So it's like, he rides a motorcycle, he's got the leather jacket. I wanted to do spinach dip, but I didn't have spinach in the space. And my space has always been really small. And I was like, what if I do collard greens? And originally that collard green dip was served with hot water cornbread crackers. So like, it was like this hot water cornbread that I would make, and it was phenomenal, but nobody could execute it. Like
Really?
literally no other cook. It didn't, I would tell them exactly how I do it. I had a recipe written out,
Nobody.
literally tasted different every time. So I was like, okay, we can't do this. I have quesadillas. And so the only thing I use a tortilla for is the quesadilla. And I said, well, what if I use this tortilla, cut it up, deep fry it, put our, Creole seasoning on there and make it into chips. And so that's how it became the final dish. Crazy thing is when I had that on the menu in the ghost kitchen, nobody ordered it. Like
Wow.
it didn't get ordered so much that I took it off the menu.
Wow.
And so
How could people not see that it's
well,
awesome?
because the thing is, when you're ordering on Uber Eats or DoorDash or like takeout or online, you want what you want. You're going to be hungry when you get it, and you want something that you know. And so it was so unfamiliar that people were like, maybe, but no. And so I said, well, when I got the dine-in, I'll bring it back out and I'll practically give it away at the beginning. So at the beginning, I was just like, get a free collard green dip, And so now people are like, I'm here for the collard green dip. I'd never seen it anywhere else before.
Yep.
And then I started seeing it kind of pop up all over Instagram. I guess the algorithm could hear. And nobody else does collard green dip in LA. Like I'm literally the only place you can get it. So I always say I'm the home of the original collard green dip.
I love that. And you know what? I'm going to tell you honestly, when I saw the ad on Instagram, that was the dish that I was like, we got to go here, because I'd never seen anything like it. And like, that's the thing that interests me about, food artists like yourself. It's like, when I see something that it's like, everybody's had collard greens, everybody's had spinach artichoke dip. You combine two things that work. And I honestly think it tastes better than spinach artichoke dip or any spinach dip or any of that, because there's like a bitterness in the collard green that you're not going to get in the same way with spinach. It's got some of that, but it has like a deeper kind of like bitterness in the collard green, which just adds to the fact that you not only disguise some of that, but also it adds to the whole vibe of the dish. And
it works really well with the cheeses that we use. I do use Monterey Jack and Parmesan cheese. So it's just something about it. It kind of gives it this umami, like where it's this full mouth feeling. And there are some people who've gotten it and they're like, oh, I don't really like it, which is another thing. We are what I call risk-free dining. If you order something and you don't like it, you don't eat it, we will take it off the check. So I want people to be adventurous.
That's very big of you, but you shouldn't do that. But that's very big of you.
Every corporate restaurant does it. Every single corporate. I managed a Cheesecake Factory at the Grove, California Pizza Kitchen, Papado in Dallas, Chili's. Every corporate restaurant, if you say, hey, I don't like this, they're going to take it off your check. And people are like, oh no, you're a small business. It's very rare that people don't like it. And I stand so much on business when it comes to my food and whether people like it. I feel like I can put that guarantee out there and it'll be fine.
Well, the food is it's really amazing. It really is something that stands on its own. And I know there's, in LA, there's competition. I mean, you are in a foodie city.
You can literally go to a different restaurant for every meal of the day for the rest of your life, and you will not eat at every restaurant in LA.
Yep, that's very true. It's like New York. New York is also like that. And what is really hard about this city is it's really difficult to get kind of like a name or recognition in the food industry. I know you know this. So like when I walked into your restaurant and I saw there was a line just like out the back and people were waiting, and I actually was sitting next to a college friend of yours, and she said, oh, I flew in, we went to college together and I flew in for this, and she's just the best. And I was like, that was an amazing, just like a nod to you as a person, that you had a college friend that was, like I think was catching a flight later that day, had her suitcase there too. And, I knew the food was going to be good before I even like had a bite, because it just like, when details like that in the friendship, in, the effort it takes for people to be there, you see how much people were just sitting and waiting patiently. I'm sure you've had some people that aren't always patient, but honestly, it's like the food is worth it. And one of the things also that I loved, I had a peach cobbler waffle. Let's talk about that for a second. This isn't the waffle. We're going to show the waffle picture again, but it has a peach cobbler mix instead of berries on this. Sam, pull up the waffle picture. Yeah. So you have a berry version of a waffle, and then you also have a peach cobbler version. Now, that's another dish I've never seen on a waffle. Tell me how you came up with that concept and that idea.
It's crazy because when I first, right now, today, I think I have 7 different waffles. I have the
Wow.
sweet vanilla bean, which is a regular, the mixed berry, the one in the picture. Then we have the peach cobbler waffle, cinnamon roll, chocolate chip, bacon
Yeah.
cheddar, and a cheddar herb waffle. And when we move, we'll bring the cornbread waffle back again. But
Wow.
when I opened, there was just one waffle. It was that one. It was the waffle with the berries, and that's it. And I started noticing that people would put no berries. They would just type it in, no berries. And I said, oh, well, maybe I should give them the option. So I'll do one without berries and I'll lower the price of that one. And I'll do one with berries. That way you're not taking the berries off and being charged for berries when
Right.
you're not eating them anyway. And so I said, well, what if I did a peach cobbler, like another option? The peach cobbler waffle out the gate just
Right.
killed. It just killed.
Right.
The only thing that killed more than that is the cinnamon roll waffle. And see, that came after you. And even, I just kind of, I don't know why I did peach cobbler, really, because I normally don't introduce a new item unless I can use it several times, right? I use the peaches only for peach cobbler. Like, that's really unheard of. I like to cross utilize things. So I don't know what made me be like, oh, maybe it was, I don't know, November or something, and I was feeling
So
peach
good.
cobblery. But it's done really well. And even somebody called one day and they said, hey, do you have chocolate chip waffles? And I was like, I don't. And she said, oh my God. I was like, I have, peach cobbler, I got this. And she's like, my husband has literally made me call every restaurant that sells waffles for a chocolate chip waffle. And no one sells chocolate chip waffles. And I said, go ahead and put your order in. I'm going to go to the store next door. And I went and I grabbed some chocolate chips and I made a chocolate chip waffle. And then I said, well, if nobody else has a chocolate chip waffle, that means I need to have one. And
Right.
and that one sells a lot as well. Especially it's really popular with kids. Like, they love the chocolate chip waffle. So it was, a lot of times I pull from other people, but the peach cobbler, it must have just been the ancestors like, hey girl,
It's
you need
awesome.
to make this one.
That was the second dish when I saw the collard green dip and I saw the peach cobbler waffle. I'm like, yo, we have to go here. This is like the comfort of comfort foods. It's like all the things you want in a brunch. It's got your sweet and savory. It's got, it's got everything. It's got every delectable that you could want. Also, your mac and cheese. My goodness. All right. I'm gonna tell you, like, my mom makes a killer mac and cheese. My girlfriend also makes a killer mac and cheese. The level of your mac and cheese is ridiculous. And there are a lot of restaurants, that do mac and cheese and claim they've got a mac and cheese, and most of them it's just pretty ordinary. Yours is off the hook. It is just so good. You got all the right cheeses in it. Tell me, like, what went into your mac and cheese that made it stand out on its own, because it is phenomenal.
That's recipe number 8. Like,
Okay.
it was, mac and cheese was such a toxic relationship for me. Mainly because it was like, okay, well, I can make it. And then, like, but how do I keep it warm? Like, can I bake it? No, now the sauce breaks and it's cheesy. It's like greasy at the top. And then I'm like, okay, I can do this. Great. But nobody else could execute it. I have perfected this recipe to where I could send you to the kitchen right now and make it. It's super easy. Everything is prepped out. It's very consistent and it will taste the same every time, no matter who makes it. It was so hard to get to that. So, I think the only thing that sets my mac and cheese apart from everyone else is the seasoning. So we make our own Creole seasoning in house. And
Wow.
like, I literally have ruined mac and cheese for everybody at the restaurant. Even me, I love mac and cheese. I mean, like, the one that Popeyes and Chick-fil-A I'll eat. So like, I'm basic, right? Like, I'll eat the one in the Kraft blue box, the Velveeta.
Me too.
I have not had a mac and cheese that I will eat now. Like, I was like, I think I've been ruined by grits and waffles mac and cheese. So
You ruined it for me too, because it's like I've ordered it at fast food joints. I don't order it anymore. It's like, and I love mac and cheese. It can do no wrong. But once you have it when it's really good, it's like worth just saving it for those special occasions and making it that,
right. And that one is, I mean, it's so quick. It's so easy. It's so fast to make. Like, it's been great. It was worth like all the trouble that we had at the beginning trying to, perfect the recipe. But that one is it's really easy. Like,
and it comes out hot. Like, I mean, honestly,
we make it to order.
Yes,
We make
but
it to order.
this is a basic part of mac and cheese that people miss. Like
and I think that like people overcomplicate mac and cheese so much when at the end of the day it's really just pasta, right? Like it's noodles and the sauce.
Right.
And ours doesn't contain flour, so we also have a gluten-free version.
Wow.
Where we use a gluten-free pasta, but my actual cheese sauce is flourless, so it's already gluten-free.
Wow.
So it's great. Like I definitely have to say that that's one of the best things that we have on the menu.
Yeah, honestly, I would agree. And it's served piping hot, and it's like you take one bite and you can't be mad at anything. You know what I mean? Like that's your like secret weapon. It's like if anybody's upset about how long the wait is, just give them a little bit of mac and cheese. And
yeah, right.
It really is. It really is. And what are the cheeses that you put in it? Because
that one is cheddar, Monterey Jack, and Parmesan. So it's not even like this fancy hoity-toity, no Gouda, no Gruyere. No,
right.
It's cheddar cheese, Monterey, and Parmesan. I'm telling you, the thing that sets it apart is the Creole seasoning.
Yes.
That's the only difference really, and it can't be duplicated. Right? When I first opened, I was like, I need a Creole seasoning. I tried Lowry's, Slap Your Mama's, Tony Chachery, like all these different, different seasoning blends, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to make my own because they were all too salty.
Right.
And so if I can make my own, I can kind of control the salt and control what I put in it. And hands down, it's the glue that keeps everything together at Grits and Waffles, and you literally can't get it anywhere else. So you can't say, oh, well, that catfish tastes like this here. Absolutely, it cannot. It's impossible unless they come to my kitchen and steal my fish fry. Like, or they steal my chicken fry. Like, it literally cannot taste like anywhere else. And that was very intentional.
Well, the other thing too is like, I think a big part of cooking is seasoning, and people, and in California too, people are not always seasoning food in the same way like they're seasoning in the South. My girlfriend's from the South. She knows how to cook. My mom is Indian. She knows how to cook.
You got spices and seasonings from both ends.
It's like, that's why it's like, I love food that has seasoning. And when I tried every dish that you cooked was seasoned so well. How did you learn that? Because I cook not like my mom or my girlfriend, but honestly, I think that's the one most important part of cooking that makes you like a Jedi, So how did you learn that? Was it family? Was it, just doing it after, so many times and just being consistent? How did you learn how to properly season food?
Well, I'm sure that you see your mom and she doesn't use teaspoons or tablespoons, or your girlfriend, nobody uses measuring. It's like a feeling, right? Yes. Well, you can't have a successful, consistent restaurant business off of feeling. You have to have actual measurements, right? And so it took me 2 years to come up with the measurements that I wanted to. And again, at the Ghost Kitchen, it didn't start out perfectly seasoned. Right. People were, hey, this is too salty. It's too garlicky. It's too... Those are that's the feedback that helps us grow. One girl was like, I want you to win, but I can only give you 3 stars. And here's why. And,
that's crazy. But I didn't write all of them.
Yeah, but she's one of the reasons the catfish is what it is today. Right. Because of her feedback, I was like, okay, well, let me go ahead and change, the ratio. So once I got it to where I was getting 5 stars consistently, I'm like, okay, that's the recipe. That's the one we're going to use, and that's what we're going to follow. So a lot of it isn't really me. It's the people who ate it and gave me that. Like, I literally hate when somebody comes on and they're like 1 star. And you're like, why? Nothing. Right. Crickets. Right. That's not helpful.
Yes.
You come on and you type overpriced. That's not helpful. What's helpful is, oh, I didn't know that peach cobbler was an additional $2 because the server never told me. That's helpful because now I can say, hey guys, make sure you let them know it's an extra charge. But just saying, oh, overpriced. And that's my note to like anybody who's listening. If you go to a restaurant, shit happens, people mess up.
Yep.
Give them feedback. Tell them what the problem was. Tell them what was wrong, because we can't fix it if we don't know. And it's that, and of course, this is my baby, right? So that's like somebody coming and being like, your baby's ugly, your baby's stupid. And so you immediately want to go into fight mode. And I was like, you can't do that with a business. It's like, okay, well, let me fix it. And now my baby's cute and she's smart,
Yep. Well, I can guarantee I would have liked the baby even before. But what I love is that you as an artist learned how to hone in on making it just right. And kind of like, there's a level of like, whenever you're making anything and other people are going to, have access to it, there is a point where it's like you have to make it appease a larger audience, and there's like that's a really hard thing for any creator to do, to kind of like pivot a little bit, even though they know it's something like it may have been great before, but knowing, okay, if I'm gonna bend a little bit, it may get better. And that's a really hard thing for any artist to do, but it's also learning how to do all of those, that whole process for you is what makes you a great artist. So I love that you like just seasoning alone. You're like, it took me 2 years to learn. And, I know, cause I write down all my mom's recipes, and I'll call her and I'll say, it was close, but it's not how you do it. So there must be more of something that, you think it's a quarter teaspoon, but it's like maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon. Like all those things that are like so hard to get, so it's exact. How much of that process was frustrating for you as a food artist? Because I know it had to be, where it was like, man, it's not getting there. And you're probably wasting a little bit of money just trying to get the process down, just getting the spices right, or the even the serving size right. Tell me how much of that process was an obstacle for you.
It was challenging, but not that much. And this is where I kind of like where my music background comes in. So as a performer, right, we do this, because we love it. But when you're performing for other people, you're performing for them. And so what resonates with the crowd is what you do more of. Right. And so like, if you go in and you're singing a song and everybody's looking at you like, it's like, well, I need to do something different with that song because it's not working. So I used to have a song called Actions Speak Louder Than Words. And I was singing and you'd see a couple of head bobs. That was it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make this a call and response. So then when I say, I know you want to be heard. And I point to them and they say, but actions speak louder than words. And that's when, so it's
great
like, voice. Thank you. So you have to tweak the show.
Yes.
To make sure that the guests who paid to see you are getting what they paid for. And it's the exact same with food. You got to tweak it to make sure every guest that comes in my door is like, a fan. Right. And so if I'm not doing it for you, what am I here for? And so like, you're the one paying for it. So you should get it the way it should be. And so I come from a restaurant background, right? My undergraduate degree is in restaurant management. I worked in restaurants for 24 years.
And so you have that's crazy.
I know, like half my staff, I'm like, I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. Please don't ask me questions, or like I have like cooks that'll come in and they're like, oh, have you thought about doing it this way? Bro, it took me 2 years to come up with this. Shut up.
Right. Everybody has an idea. Everybody has an idea. And I'm like, then you cash out your 401k for $40,000 and spend 35 trying to open and praying to God every day that you just sell enough food to, buy more food. You do that, and then you come and tell me what to do with my recipe. I love that you said that, because I have so many, and I love my friends, I love my fans, but you get suggestions. You, as an artist, you're just always going to get suggestions.
Yeah.
I don't listen to 99.8% of them. And then there's 0.02%. I'm like, that's actually a great idea. Like you learn in the process, but when you go through your own critical process, when there's I always say, like, be at the mercy of a great idea in the room. And when you hear a great idea, there's no ego about it. It's like, that's a great idea. I like that. It's like, you don't, there's no defense against that, but 99.08% of them, or 99.98% of them, are just kind of like ideas for people to be heard, and they think they know, and it's just hard.
And then you'll get ideas from people who don't do music. It's like,
yes,
you don't even play an instrument, so why are you telling me to do something? Jimmy Hendrix riff. It's like I'm playing a folk song right now. Like, you don't even know music theory, but you want to come and tell me, like, if you can't tell me about an augmented, just suspended, diminished chord, then do not tell me what to play. So it's kind of, and it feels like that in the restaurant, because people are like, well, I think you should do this. I think you should go home and cook.
Right.
That's what I want to say.
And you can, it's like the one thing that I love too. It's like I see such an incredible parallel between songwriting, and recipes. That's one of the things that I love about how they work, because they are a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it's a lot like, like when you're doing too much, when you're not doing enough, and it's like when it's finished, when you go through that process, you know when you have a winning recipe. So you're always experimenting as a chef. Tell me, how do you know when something's just, okay, this is ready to push out on the menu? This is a new dish. I'm going to put this on your menu. How do you know when it's right?
So there's a thing called R&D. It's called research and development, right? And so every restaurant should do it. Like you should get a small group of people. Right now, I'm working on a gluten-free menu. And so before I put that menu out, I got about 10 people who are gluten-free. And I'm like, hey, I need you to pull up. I need y'all to try this. Give me your God on this feedback on what your thoughts are about it. And so you go through this like development period. Oh, and which goes back to the other thing you asked me about being frustrated with everything. Because I came from a restaurant background, I already knew coming into this that at the beginning, I'm not going to make any money, that I'm going to lose a lot of money, that there's going to be a lot of waste. There's going to be a lot of things I'm giving away for free. So I already knew that. So that piece of frustration wasn't a factor because I've been doing this for so long. So you kind of know what to expect. But yeah, it's just, you just get out there, you make the recipe, you do it, and it either works or it doesn't work. And you can tell by how many people are buying it. There's so many metrics, on the back end. You can look in your POS system. Okay, well, nobody's buying this, so should I put you? Interestingly enough, your servers too determine what people buy. So it's all these factors, but if it works, you're going to see reviews about it. You're going to see people post it on Instagram. You're going to see people post it on TikTok. And the more you see that stuff, you're like, okay, that one works. That's the one we're using, and let's go with it.
What's really great too is your servers are like an extension of who you are, because they were all so friendly, so sweet, and so informative. We asked them questions like, hey, would you do this or this? And they would say, I would do this, and then do this like on the side. Oh yeah, that's the money. So like, do you kind of guide them in that process, or do you tell them like, listen, I want you to help the consumer get to that place where they have the experience that you want them to have? Like how do you govern that?
Well, one, I don't hire anybody with dietary restrictions, and whatever, it's not a protected class, so I get to do that. So if you are vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, you cannot work at Grits and Waffles. And it's not anything personal. It's just that you are a brand ambassador for the restaurant, and you can't do that if you don't eat the food.
Right.
The thing, and then a lot of restaurants give you like a discount when you're working. My staff gets a free shift meal. So I want them to eat the food. I want them to know what it tastes like. So when they are saying, yo, you got to get the catfish with the cheese grits, and they're not saying it to sell it to you. They're saying it because that's what they really like, and that's what they eat. And so I don't want anybody working there that doesn't eat the food. And that's kind of where it starts. And then the second piece is I'm very guest forward. Like I tell my staff all the time, I don't pay you. Like I can't write. I got 59 cents in my account. You get paid by the people eating here. And
right.
So everybody in the chair, that's your boss. And so you treat them as such, and you treat them with respect, and you want them to come back, and they genuinely want you to have a great experience. And the ones who didn't align with that, I fired them.
Wow. Well, you know what's cool is like I was like, man, I was raving about your food to our server. And, I think it was the gentleman was like, well, that's the chef right there. And I saw you working even harder than the servers. And I knew you were, in the kitchen too, just kind of running back and forth. And like meeting you, I was like, you are just soulful and cool. And I know that you have to have patience beyond measure, because the food industry, I think, is harsher than the entertainment industry, harsher than any business industry, harsher than anybody, because everybody has an opinion. Yes. And it's like, everybody's a critic. Everybody all of a sudden becomes a food critic when you're serving them too. It's like they know, and you're at the mercy of like how they grew up with food, what the relationship with food is, like how well they know food. And so many people that even are published, critics, they don't know food like they think they do because they didn't grow up with it in the same context. You know what I mean?
Right.
So was there ever a dish that you kind of held on to that you were like, I know this is going to hit? I mean, so far it sounds like the collard green dip. But was there another dish? Because I had Justin Bua, very well-known painter who paints a lot of jazz musicians, and he said something really interesting. One of his most famous pieces, he said was a failure. Nobody wanted it. No distributor wanted it. Everybody turned their backs on it. He thought he failed with it. And then he switched distributors, and it slowly started making its way to college campuses and started selling and picking up. Like, what do you think that dish for you was, where it's like, you're like, I know this is good and people will come to it in time? What do you think that dish was for you?
100% the collard green dip.
That's awesome. That's so good, because you probably were battling like traditional collard green experiences, right?
Or like, yeah, and everybody, I have so many people that are like, I hate collard greens, but I love this. And they'll say, I don't like collard greens. And I say, you know what? Either I'll buy it for you, or what I say is, try it. If you don't like it, I'll buy it. And so, because again, I don't care if you like it or not.
Right. It's good.
I care if you don't try. Like, then give it a chance. I have people that are like, I don't like grits. Try these. And if you don't like them, I'm not gonna, whatever. It is what it is.
I like grits. That's crazy. These people shouldn't even come to your restaurant when the title of the restaurant is grits and waffles. Like, just, this crazy.
Yeah. So 100% the collard green dip. It was that, and I had a soul food waffle at one point. It was a cornbread waffle. So the waffle was kind of like a sweet cornbread. And it was mac and cheese, collard greens on top, mac and cheese, and fried catfish. Absolutely no. Oh my God. I'm thinking about it. I think I'm gonna bring it back out for Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Please.
It'll be on the menu permanently when we move.
Okay.
But absolutely phenomenal. And that was another one where people were like, I don't really know. I do have another one. That's breakfast scramble.
Oh, yes.
A lot of people are like, I don't know. And I don't know if we had it when you were there, but it's
I don't think so.
Eggs, cheese, breakfast potatoes, and collard greens, and it's all scrambled together.
Wow!
And you can just choose your protein. So if chicken tenders or shrimp or whatever. But it is absolutely phenomenal, and a lot of people are really shocked at how much it is. And it's one of those things where I'm like, "Can I put this on the menu?" And I'm like, "But it's so good. If people would just taste it, they'll love it." So.
That's amazing. I love that. And I love that you held your ground with that dish, because that's part of it. It's like, it's one of the things. I want to talk about the deviled eggs real quick. Sam, I think it's the first picture I see.
Well, they're celestial eggs because they're heavenly, not deviled.
That's right. I forgot. That's what you called it. I mean, just looking at this picture, it just makes me want to take a bite out of it. I mean, how did you come up with this dish? And my God, it's really a fantastic dish.
I've been making these since college. Again, I'm from Texas. We deep fry anything. I'll deep fry you if I could. What's crazy is the two things that you put on here were not going to be on my menu at all. Was catfish and the celestial eggs.
Wow.
And they were not. The only reason I put the catfish on there is because I really love fried catfish, and I just couldn't find good fried catfish in LA. And I said, you know what? If I add it to the menu, I can have it anytime without my kitchen in my apartment smelling like catfish.
Right.
And then the celestial eggs, I did a tasting in Dallas. I invited a bunch of family over, and one of my friends, she hates eggs. She hates them.
Really?
The only rule of the tasting, like, I bought this food, I cooked it, you eat for free. The only rule is you have to try everything unless there's
right.
And so I said, listen, Shannon, just take a bite. You don't have to like it. I'll take it back and throw it away. So I walk back, come back. I said, hey, where's the rest of the eggs? She said, oh, I ate it and I grabbed another one.
Whoa.
So when I opened the restaurant, she sent a message on Facebook. She said, all I know is you better have some fried deviled eggs in there. Like, I actually don't want to put it up because it's very labor intensive.
Right.
So it's very labor. And I was like, I don't want to do it. And she was like, no, they have to be on there. So you have LaShannon Davis, my high school friend, to thank for celestial eggs being on the menu. That's
amazing. Well, they're amazing. And that's another dish I look for on the menu. And it's something that you don't see on every menu. So
yeah, I've seen 2 other places with it.
It doesn't look like yours, though.
No, they're not as good as mine either. And I'm not even like saying that to be on some flex type stuff, but they're just not. But again, these are all my own seasonings. These are all my own, recipes. So,
well, I want to ask you too. I mean, this process of you starting this restaurant and being a success story has got to make you also look at restaurants in a different way and look at your dining experiences in a different way. How has it made you love food and also become more critical being a food artist?
So I was already pretty working in restaurants. I was kind of really forgiving, right? I'm like, oh, this could happen, this could happen. now I'm just annoying. Like I don't even want to go out to eat with me, you know. And I'm just like my girlfriend and I'll go out and I'm like, oh my gosh, she used to put us at the table, put dishes for me. You know, I'll discover about something, and she's like, oh, I don't know. Why do you work here? You don't know what you
Right.
I've just got annoying. And so it's just when I go in, I'm like, don't say anything, order your food, eat your food, get out of there. You know, but I'll look at the handheld system and I'm like, oh my God, what is that? That's really cool. Like maybe I can incorporate that, you know, grits and waffles. So I'm looking at everything from an operational standpoint and not from a dining standpoint. And so going out to eat with me sometimes be like, damn girl, can we just eat? Like why you
But that's like what you love it. That's a big part of it. It's like the part of the process of like loving art is being able to like go out and experience it and also be critical of it because you want the experience to be elevated because that's the experience you give people. And so you deserve that, especially because you're getting and I mean you're giving that to people. So when you go out, you deserve that experience. So that's why I asked that question because I mean it's hard sometimes. Like my friends will listen to an out of tune singer and I'm like, yo, this is out of tune, and they're like, I don't hear it. I don't
like all her notes were flat. They were off.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
It's hard because it's like it makes it hard to enjoy things, but also when you see somebody that's amazing, you know, like a Prince, it's like you get inspired so deeply by it because you know how great it is. So I love that you keep the sensors open, you know, just to make sure that you can either incorporate it in your own restaurant or kind of, you know, just have
or just appreciate it. You know, there's I went to this really nice restaurant. It's called Arden in West Hollywood. Phenomenal. I mean, and I've been to a lot of restaurants where the decor is amazing, but the decor was great, the service was great, the food was amazing, and so I was just like, to be. And when I told my girlfriend, I said, "We go to a restaurant is to be so great that I put so much pressure on every other competitor that you have a great experience no matter where you are."
I love that. I love that. Well, you're doing it right. You're doing it right. Where can people find you online, and more importantly, where can people find you if they want to come eat at Grits and Waffles?
Well, right now we are in the process of moving, but we are open in Pico Union, 1243 West. Sorry, I got all these different addresses in my head. 1243 South Alvarado Street, Los Angeles, California. We're moving to Koreatown on Wilshire, so I'm like,
that's close to me. I love it. I love it. Wait,
no, I'm super excited about it.
In Vermont, right? Isn't that what
yeah. But we are everywhere. If you want to find us, just Google best brunch in LA. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Absolutely. We are Grits and Waffles, GRITZ, the letter N, and then waffles with the Z. There are 2 Z's. It is very intentional. When I was a kid from Dallas to East Texas, going to visit my grandparents, we used to play the alphabet game. And so you look at the billboards, cards, because there's nothing to do for that 2 hours. And you go through every letter of the alphabet. When we got to the letter X, we couldn't find anything. So 2 words with X in it, and you could go to the next letter. Same with Z. So instead of finding where to start with Z, you could find 2 words with Z in it. And so when I did Grits and Waffles, it has 2 Z's. So the childhood me could win the game because we never ended the game. It never ended. And so when people misspell it, I'm like, I feel like I lost. The 9-year-old me lost. But yeah, everything's under Grits and Waffles. It's got signature. You know, that's what's cool. It's like it stands out so much in a cool way. It's like it's one of the things when I think about the name of the restaurant, I actually think about the Z's, and it's not a mistake. It's an intentional like signature that I think you're putting on the restaurant. And you know what? It also makes it so good. Like after you eat your food, you just want to ZZZ.
Right, you want to get.
So think about that. You know what I mean?
But everything is under Grits and Waffles. gritsandwaffles.com. If you got our website, you'll find our socials. You'll find everything, contact information. So we made it easy. Like literally Instagram, Threads, all of our handles are Grits and Waffles. No funky numbers, just 2 Z's.
Well, Journey Rain, your food is amazing. I miss it. Just when I was looking at the pictures, I was like, man, I need to go back so soon because I want that catfish right now.
Oh, you'll be invited to the soft opening of the new space. So.
I can't wait. And I still want to come to the old space though too because I have a fond love for that catfish that I want. I want that same experience. So I will come back and see you. But please never stop doing this. It's such a pleasurable dining experience for people that love food, people that love soul food, people that love any food. And it's just I hope you never stop creating new dishes and stay with the old ones too, because they're so phenomenal. And we just thank you so much. Thanks for being a guest on Wake Up Hollywood. On behalf of Journey, myself, and Sam, we'll see you guys next week. Go check out Grits and Waffles. It's one of the best food experiences you'll have in LA. Trust me. Trust me. All right, we're out. Peace, love, and take care.
You're listening to Wake Up Hollywood with Nikki Korula and Eddie Pence, right here on LA Talk Radio.